Get ready for more sunshine, some in and out clouds, and a warming trend that starts up tomorrow on Tuesday and continues through the middle part of this work week. Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Arel Winninger. We're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast for Central Oregon. And these last couple of days, we've had a steady cooling trend. There have been some sprinkles, and today is when that cooling trend is bottoming out. So there's a shift in our weather pattern that's expected to start up through the day tomorrow, but it's going to be a gradual shift. Now, it is still fire season, even though temperatures are well below average. Most of our highs today were in the 70s. So let's go ahead and take a tour through some of our products for fire weather conditions and where we have some fires, and just take a look at that. And then we are going to be taking a look at everything else that you need to know. So let's start it off with our air quality. We've been sitting in the green. Good air quality through Central Oregon. These red areas, those are some fire perimeters. So we're going to start off with the biggest one we've had so far this year, and that is the Cram Fire. And the Cram Fire is located, let me get rid of that. The Cram Fire is located in Jefferson County, and it's prompted several evacuation warnings for parts of the Tri-County area. And at last check, it is 95,736 acres, and with that, there's 73% containment. Notice we don't have all the hot spots we did earlier last week, and that's because they've been doing a good job of containment. Some of those sprinkles have been helping, and winds haven't been as strong as they were last week. We still have a north breeze that is getting breezy at times. Also, there is another one that we're continuing to track, which is Butte Creek Fire. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next product, and we're going to see some details from that as well, because this is a look at those evacuation notices. You'll notice Butte Creek Fire is just under the legend near Semnasho on the Warm Springs Reservation, and that's at 2,046 acres. Notice also that the fire started closer to the 26 corridor, and the only evacuation zone for the Butte Creek Fire is Semnasho, and so that's the way the winds were blowing through this weekend. Meanwhile, we have a bigger evacuation notices that are set up for the Cram Fire. Even though this fire is not actively burning with several hot spots across the area, there are still several, in fact 7 level 3 evacuation zones that are in place. That includes Ashwood, that also includes Willowdale, south of both of those, but coming just shy of the 97 corridor. Around the 97 corridor, it's a series of level 1 be ready and level 2 be set evacuations. But another thing to point out is all of the evacuation zones for Crook County have been lifted except for one area, this green area, that is a level 1 be ready evacuation. So right around Grizzly we have a level 2 be set, but the level 3s are all still in eastern Jefferson County. And notice also this whole area has been changed. This time last Friday, there were some yellows and greens, or level 2s and level 1s outside of Kilts right there, and Ashwood and the surrounding area was a level 3, so that has been downsized quite a bit. So we are tracking just those 2 different fires when it comes to evacuation zones in our Tri-County area at the moment, or at least that's according to the Oregon the OEM, the Department of Emergency Management. Now, outside of that, we can look at a few other things when it comes to those fire conditions. This first one that I'm going to start you off with, this is a fire tracker, and it actually shows where most of the hot spots were at different times. Notice your legend right up here. 7 days ago is where you have the dark gray. Today, hot spots would be red, but right now we don't see any reds for the Cram Fire. We see a couple of the darker oranges for yesterday and the paler yellows for the day before. So it looks like through today we haven't seen too much development from this fire, but that doesn't mean it's over. So there are still evacuation zones due to that. Looking closer to the Butte Creek Fire, where there were some hot spots in the last 24 hours. That was mostly yesterday, and that's closer to Semnasho, but not quite there. And closer to the 97 corridor, that's where we have it from 2 days back. And so this started up this weekend. It did develop pretty quickly. It spread to 2,000 plus acres, but today we haven't seen too much in the way of activity, and that's because of a trough that has been pushing through. So our relative humidity is much higher than it typically is this time of the year. We're in the 20s with some 30s on the map. These are all percentages, and that means it's not as dry. It's not that bone dry condition that we're all too familiar with. And let's go ahead and look at some wind conditions. Gusts right now are mostly between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Some spots a little over 20 miles per hour, but not too bad at all. Actual wind speeds more like 5 to 15 miles per hour. So notably, we do not have strong winds today. It's been a little breezy at times. And breezy conditions are expected during the next couple of hours. Remember with this graphic, everything to the left of the white line is observed, everything to the right is forecast, and we are forecast to see those winds get up to 10 to 20 miles per hour, which means gusts are probably going to be 25 plus miles per hour. So it's something we will be tracking. But another thing when it comes to winds is by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, a little breezy at times, not too bad. By Wednesday afternoon, look at that, 2 to 12 miles per hour, getting up to 15 at times. So we're not looking at super strong winds, although it will be dry outside of any sprinkles that we're expecting. But that's definitely good news for fire weather conditions. Even when it comes to smoke, right now you already saw that air quality conditions map, and there wasn't too much to talk about. But when it comes to the actual smoke plumes coming off the few fires we do currently have that are active, we're not looking at much. By 7 a.m., a few spots could have reduced air quality. By the time we get to Tuesday night going into Wednesday, maybe a few more areas of reduced air quality, but it's not the poor air quality we saw last week, and there are no red flag warnings in effect right now across the entire state, including our Tri-County area. However, there is a flash flood warning, and let's go ahead and shift gears, take a look at satellite and radar. Here's why we have that flash flood warning. Just setting this into loop, notice that we just have in and out clouds over the high desert right now. Look to our east, scattered showers and some thunderstorms. One of those thunderstorms is where we have that flash flood warning, and this pushed through the high desert earlier today. It was mostly just some sprinkles out there, but right now for Central Oregon, it's looking much better. And so we will be tracking where those lightning strikes are going to be on the eastern side of the state to see if any fires start up, but at the moment it doesn't look too bad. Looking at the bigger picture, as this trough pushes through the region, it will be clearing us later tonight, leaving us under the domain of a broad ridge of high pressure. So let's look at the bigger picture. Let's go ahead and get out there where this high is, well over the northern Pacific, reaching up into the Gulf of Alaska and reaching out toward the Pacific Northwest coastline. We'll start to see the influence of this by tomorrow. That's when we have more sunshine. Our next warming trend begins, but we're also opening the door for the chance of a little bit of convection, because we're still going to have a flow that's going to be conducive of some showers developing, and any showers that pop up we're going to be tracking for thunderstorm activity. So let's take a look at a high resolution forecast model. This is going to show us that yes, there have been some thunderstorms east of Central Oregon, south of Baker City, and those are going to be wrapping up later this evening and starting to fizzle out. As they fizzle out, they're moving well out of our area. For Central Oregon tonight, in and out clouds, and getting a little on the cooler side by the time we start the day tomorrow, then freeze frame Tuesday at 3 p.m. There's going to be the potential of some thunderstorms developing on the east slopes of the Cascades. If they develop, a couple of those could drift down towards the 97 corridor. Now, we're not looking at a widespread thunderstorm outbreak, but is it possible that some thunderstorms are going to develop tomorrow? Yes. Is it also possible that we could be looking at some dry lightning? Absolutely. Where thunderstorms develop, if they develop, and then by the time we get to Tuesday night and Wednesday, back to clearing. Wednesday brings with it its own set of changes, and I think you're going to like those. There is a chance for a few sprinkles in the higher elevations, but no rain for the rest of Central Oregon. So high temperatures in the last 24 hours, mostly 70s, 86 in Warm Springs, and a few of those could be holdovers from 24 hours ago. This is a look at high temperatures in the last 24 hours. Right now, those temperatures are mostly sitting in the 70s with 81 in Warm Springs. I don't quite think Warm Springs got up to 86 today. That one was a holdover that I was talking about, but also Sun River, 68 degrees, did get close to the lower 70s. We'll have to wait for a few more numbers to come in for the actual high temperature for today to see what that ended up being. But this really represents a 1 to 5 degree drop in temperatures. Earlier today, it was 2 to 7 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. So that grip of cooler air is starting to wane just a little bit. It was a very weak front that pushed through, but enough to knock us 10 plus degrees cooler than we should be for this time of the year. And tonight we continue to cool down, going from the mid 70s into the 40s with some 50s for lows. Then through the day Tuesday, our temperatures start to pick up. This is the beginning of our gradual warming trend, topping out well into the 80s. It's going to put us a little closer to average for this time of the year, just not quite there. So with that, with more sunshine, our UV intensity forecast is cranking up as well. Today today, the UV peaked at 6. By tomorrow, 8. Notice by the afternoon, more clouds roll in. We get that chance of showers, maybe some thunderstorms. And then again on Thursday, that's our next chance of rain. It's, again, scattered light showers possible, but enough to bring that UV intensity forecast back down to 8 again. Either way, very high today through the next 4 days. Now, when it comes to our temperatures, that's where you're going to see the biggest change in our weather pattern through the next couple of days. There is a chance of thunderstorms starting on the east slopes of Cascades, coming down into the Tri-County area. There'll be few, they'll be far between, but it is going to be possible. Highs in the 80s with a few 70s and 90s expected. And then by Wednesday, 80s with some 90s. More sunshine than cloud cover, but we do get some of those PM clouds. By Thursday, a chance of some showers. Still warm, almost hot. We're looking at 90s and 80s. That average high temperature for the Tri-County area is going to be 91 degrees. Our seasonal range is 86 to 89, so near and a little above average for this time of the year. By Thursday, by Friday, that starts to dip back down. Just as we go into the weekend, we're back into the mid to upper 80s, right on target for this time of the year. And there's only going to be a couple chances of any precipitation. So when we look at a more broad forecast model instead of just the Tri-County area just for the next 48 hours, this is the one I typically use on air, and it has a blend of high resolution and not so high resolution, 3K and 15K forecast data. So here through the overnight hours, some in and out clouds are expected, clearing by the AM. Then by Tuesday, we get a chance of those few isolated thunderstorms developing and pushing into the high desert. Remember, few and far between. By Wednesday, more sunshine than cloud cover till the afternoon. At that point, it'll be partly cloudy with a few sprinkles in our highest elevations. And then by Thursday, this is when we get that next chance of some scattered showers, but it's not going to be a big chance. However, again, any showers that develop, we're going to be tracking for the thunderstorm potential. After that, on Friday, we really start to see a lot more sunshine, and temperatures are going to be dipping down a little bit more. Then by the time we get to Friday afternoon, some thunderstorms to our south. They stay south of us. By Saturday, more cloud cover, not much in the way of precipitation. And then by Sunday, in and out covers expected. Monday brings more sunshine to the high desert. So between now and 11 p.m. Wednesday, some thunderstorms are going to be possible. Not for everybody, though. Meanwhile, for tonight, through the 50s into the 40s for most, just not quite everybody. By the time we get to tomorrow, we're looking at temperatures topping out in the 80s with a few 90s, and here is your 7-day planner. Roller coaster temperatures indeed, near and above average for this time of the year through the next several days. Today was your outlier. I hope you enjoyed it. It's going to be a beautiful evening. By tomorrow afternoon, there's a chance of some thunderstorms. Lows mostly staying in the 50s with some 40s overnight as we go forward through the rest of this week. That brings us to our headlines. For this Monday, July the 21st, 70s today, 90s on the way. There is a risk for a few PM thunderstorms by tomorrow afternoon, then again on Thursday. But outside of that chance of rain, we're mostly dry, a little breezy at times by the afternoon and evening. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have your full and most reliable forecast. That's at 5 on ABC and 11 on ABC, then at 6, 7, and 11 on CBS. We'll see you then. Have a good one.